Since the City of Johannesburg last week released Section 49 notices for property owners. This is a legislated process which happens every 4 years. In essence, many Joburg residents saw the valuation of their property increase and therefore their rates and taxes became higher. I'm joined in studio now by Executive Mayor Mashaba to talk a little bit more about this. Mayor, thank you. Thanks very much for coming in.
Thank you very much and good morning to the listeners.
All right, so property valuation takes place every 4 years. Why have the figures now been adjusted to between 20 and 100%?
Well, I think it's really not really true. I think if you look at such properties you're talking about, our team is doing an analysis, you're talking about roughly 5% of those properties. And I think there's a reason why we are engaging the residents. I think, unfortunately, property valuation, it's a legislative process that has to happen every 4 years. And when we took over the government in 2016, obviously the law allows us to extend it by a maximum of a year. And what we've now really done, as you are aware right now, we're right in the middle of an engagement process, and we've extended, normally we're supposed to give residents 30 days, we've extended by another 15 days so that people get an opportunity. At the same time, really look at the last valuation which was done with the previous administration. They had something like, 65,000 of queries of properties which were undervalued and never did anything about it. And unfortunately for us as a new administration, we have the responsibility to ensure that properties are properly evaluated. And I think in this process, as I said earlier on, it's a legislative process, and we use professionals to ensure that our valuation is in line with what's happening out there in the market. But however, when you have a query, please engage with us so that we can understand what your query is.
You've been quoted in a newspaper as saying that in 2013 the valuation process was flawed and that properties were undervalued, and that's why some are so high.
That is what I'm saying, is 60 to 65,000 of cases of properties which were undervalued. But over and above that, I'm sure you remember this, last year, this time, Carte Blanche brought to my attention of cases of city officials working with the private sector, some of the property owners, where properties were undervalued, and I had to lay criminal charges against such individuals. Now, tell me, when I now do evaluation, I cannot really use the basis of the undervalued. I've got to really use the proper valuation. But that process is not run by us as a city. It is independently run. And at the same time, if we are not happy with us, the government and the constitution allows you to make further representation to the provincial government. So it's a transparent process. But I think it's, and let me also tell you something, valuation of property, it's a worldwide problem. Anywhere, go to New York, London, or talk anywhere. Every time when cities need to do evaluation, people are up in uproar because people don't want to really pay. But at the end of the day, for me, what I believe is that the process has got to be fair, it's got to be equitable, and be transparent. And that's what we are trying to do as a City of Joburg.
Last July, there were reports that a private company will be doing the property valuations for the city. Can you confirm that? Have they done the valuations?
Yes, I think we're using professional companies that are doing evaluation. That is why we're asking our people, in the event of a query, please do so. We've, as a City of Johannesburg, if you remember last year when I passed my adjustment budget, in our first few months in government, what I did, I've employed additional property evaluators and people in our development planning so that we can capacitate ourselves as a city to be one day be able to do this exercise ourselves.
Obviously, the ANC are coming and saying that this whole increase in property valuation is merely to plug the deficit in the city.
Well, I think ANC is the last organization any normal person can ever even begin to listen to them, because they're the ones who created this massive challenges in our city, because there are deep-rooted corruption. If it was not because of ANC corruption, the City of Johannesburg would not really be sitting with these massive challenges. Please, I challenge anyone, look at the Auditor General's latest audited financials of the City of Johannesburg. Remember, they've had, before the Auditor General released the statements, they were saying the city is just about to collapse. And I challenge anyone, please have a look at those reports. You look at how the city over the last few years has been underperforming. Let me give an example for someone who's not a financial guru. When I took over the government in 2016, I took over the ANC budget. I collected 4% more than what they had in the budget. I saved just under R500 million. Now, how can you then say to me that I compromised the finances of the city? That means I inherited a balance sheet which was false, a balance sheet which was where communities were informed, talking about the world-class African city. Now, obviously, they are not happy with me because I'm exposing the rot of this deep-rooted corruption that used to really happen under the watch.
Yeah, look, I mean, it is tough times for South Africans. VAT is increasing in April. We're seeing property valuations going up, even though F&B, as one company is saying, the real valuation of properties is 20% lower. There's potholes in the city. When it floods, people die. I mean, there's so many other issues that we need to worry about as well. So, you know, I just don't have time to talk to you, unfortunately, about all of that.
But I think let's look at this whole issue in proper context. I inherited, worked with the Treasury. The City of Johannesburg is sitting with 170 billion rands worth of infrastructure backlog. The City of Johannesburg, just under 20 years, the ANC government has turned it into a slum. That is why you saw last week I've come out with the Johannesburg Property Company. We've mandated them to take back the city. We are going to expropriate them, those where we cannot find the owners, so that we can build affordable accommodation for our people working with the private sector.
Okay, all right. Unfortunately, Mayor, we have to leave it there, but thank you for talking to us. I know this is not the last time we will speak to you about it.
Let me give you the good news for our residents, something that I took a decision on Friday when I listened to the presentation. That one thing that I've compromised is that for this year, we're not going to have the normal inflation increases on the rates. So the rates we will only come out with adjusted valuation, but at least there'll be a huge saving. 600 million rands of saving for our residents that we cannot come out with a valuation and at the same time bring in an inflation increases. Right. So inflation increase is not going to be part of the 1st of July.
At least a little bit of good news coming our way.
600 million rand saving for our residents.
Indeed. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you very much for coming in and talking to us. Joburg Mashaba, Executive Mayor for the City of Joburg. Quick break.